I just finished, yeah, that's Ivanka. So, like right about the time that Dear Daddy Dumpy Pants, and Ivana thought it would be a great idea for them to deliver their own daughter into the hands of John Casablancas, knowing his predilections already. That's the thing. I went and I looked for Swedish Jewfish, the one that wrote this whole article. So, and I found this. This is by Kim Indivisible, and this was written Saturday, August 12th, 2017. This is incredible. 2 weeks ago, I wrote a diary blog, Here and After Story, for Daily Kos about writers who wrote about Trump model management's alleged sex trafficking and Donald Trump's alleged personal abuse of underage girls. Specifically, I wanted to know why many of the writers and journalists stopped writing and reporting on this topic after the contest of 2016. I began searching for and reaching out to these people, like Swedish Jewfish. Rebecca, a Daily Kos writer, published a well-researched, thorough story about Trump model management and other modeling agencies that abused underage girls called We All Knew About the Trafficking Part 1. Rebecca continued to write after the election, and while other stories were related to We All Knew Part 1, Part 2 was never published. In the comments after one such late 2016 offering, Rebecca said, "This doesn't change my intentions to continue the series and to just clarify this is not Part 2. By the end of 2016, Rebecca appeared to stop writing on this topic altogether. Other writers and outspoken critics of TMM also seemed to go quiet at the end of 2016. Quotes like this and similar feelings expressed by others were disconcerting. I've been destroyed by the things I've researched and written about Felon 47. And bear in mind, there were so many things I couldn't even publish because of the backlash, the threats, the harassment, stalking, and abuse I got in response to my second diary." That was by Swedish Jewfish, the one who wrote. So prior to my first story, Kim Indivisible says, I reached out to Rebecca via Daily Kos on Twitter and Facebook for comments as to why she stopped writing about TMM after the election. I did not hear from her then, but I'm very happy that Rebecca responded to my story in the comment section saying, "No worries, I'm alive and well. I was going through a lot in my personal life when I was writing that series, and honestly, I just had to take a break. Obviously, the results came as a shock too and made me reevaluate what I was willing to put out there. It's one thing when you're writing about a clown candidate who you presume is going down in history as the butt of a joke. Quite another when that person has some serious power. Also, I got a lot of blowback from that post, basically a bunch of Reddit 4chan trolls, but it was jarring and scary. I do have quite a bit more written and may publish it in the future. Thanks for caring, both about me and this story." Swedish Jewfish, Rebecca. Rebecca's response also garnered grateful responses from her supporters and followers, like Matt Z, who gave me permission to use his heartfelt, sensitive comment. Swedish Jewfish, I want to let you know how much your last two diaries on feeling suicidal after the election meant to me. Part of why I'm still alive is because you gave me and others who felt like killing ourselves a place to grieve and be heard. I will forever be grateful for that. I feel passionately about exposing the sexploitation of children through modeling because I lived it. In the 1980s, I was a child model for Donald Trump's buddy, fellow exploiter and accused pedophile, the late John Casablancas. As they say, you're known by the company you keep. And Donald Trump has kept company with, to use his words, some bad hombres. And John Casablancas was one of the worst. At age 13, I joined John Casablancas' elite in a smallish market and started modeling bathing suits and lingerie. I had experience and observed other models' experiences at JCE that were similar to those who exposed by Rebecca, other writers, journalists, and by model advocates like Rachel Blias. The picture below is from the JCE catalog taken when I first joined the agency. Although it was a shot within the same 12 months period as the title picture above, the light in the eyes of the girl going into JCE gave way to the certain darkness that often covers the faces of girls who have been exploited. Writers and journalists who expose the modeling industry's insipid practices are sometimes the victims' only champions, as many child sex abuse victims find it too embarrassing or too painful to come forward and speak out, even as adults. The cultural belief that girls ask for it by looking seductive also drives victims into hiding. I was communicated with a prolific writer who was and is an inspiration to me and who has spoken out against model abuse for years. He told me that he stopped writing about Trump model management because he felt he had aired everything verifiable that he'd learned through his reporting on the issue, and said that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to convince any of the Donald Trump victims to go on the record. He said he was also disgusted by the propensity of Trump fans to accept and even cheer his behavior, however outrageous, disgusting, or even illegal. The writer requested to be anonymous. When a society turns a deaf ear to those who speak out against sexual exploitation and abuse, engages in victim blaming, or gives credence to the erroneous belief that men can't help themselves, it compounds the horror that is child sex abuse. When a man like Donald Trump, who openly and overtly harasses women, is elevated to and allowed to maintain the position of President of the United States, it gives tacit permission for others to engage in this behavior, and that is unconscionable. Sex trafficking disguised as modeling and used to lure girls, young girls, into sexual servitude is a malevolent practice perpetrated by men and a few women in the highest and lowest echelons of society, by some of the most powerful people in our country. One of them may even be the president. To this former child model, it is entirely conceivable. So she goes on to write, I'm going to continue to reach out to Rebecca, Swedish Jewfish, that wrote the article. This was in number 5, and I forgot to put it up. What the fuck are we doing, people? What are we doing?